Hey guys, this is Ray again. Today let's talk about the nitty gritty, daily play mode, live wagering. Uh, First of all, let's go through the settings for the daily play mode. We don't need to batch process anything because we're not going to send anything to the database or the record keeping sheets or any of that. We don't need results, so we click the daily play button and we get a 1 in this box. Of course, you know when you click with results, it takes that 1 away, but we don't have results because this is a new card. Let's assume we're playing today's card or tomorrow's card. So we click daily play, type the card that we can only do one card at a time now. If you're going to do multiple tracks, you'll have more than one workbook open. As you know, you can open several workbooks in the same instance of Excel. If you look up here at the top, this is Excel itself, this part up here, and this part down here is for the workbook that is active at the moment. So if I click the overlapping rectangles here or squares here, it'll not minimize, but it won't be full screen anymore. So you see, we could have other workbooks open in the same instance of Excel. So if you're going to play multiple tracks and they're running at the same time, then you'll want to have more than one workbook open at a time. But for this video, I'm just going to play one track, and that's the Belmont Fall Meet, which started not too long ago. Okay, since we're just playing one track, or one race rather, in daily play mode, the starting card number and the ending card number are going to be the same. We're just working with one card here. I think I'll go back to this 153 is for tomorrow, and I don't have results for it, and I really want to have the results available for later on. So I'm going to go back to yesterday's card to 928. Well, this is 928 actually, but for me it's almost midnight, so I've already got the results file for it, by the way. So instead of using 153, I'll use 152, but I won't show the results yet. 152, and just click out of there and make sure you've got daily play clicked. Nothing else. Of course, the minimum odds, you're probably going to keep those in there all the time anyway. I had been messing around with the running styles a little bit at Belmont. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I've been doing a little bit of checking in races where the J-capper running style and clearing points looked a little off. I would come back to the main sheet and click the recalculated and see what it showed, and a lot of times that's given me a better idea of what horses are actually E-horses and EPs and Ps. J-capper uses a different method of determining running style and the clearing points. They only use good races, which normally means first, second, or third, or within 2 or 3 lengths. I don't necessarily agree with that because horses don't always run their best race. I want to know what the horse runs most of the time, not just in its best races, because it may not run its best race today. I want to know what it does normally, and most horses don't win more than they lose. So Anyway, I'm going to put that back to the raw running styles, which would be the JCapper styles. Okay, at this point, we've got batch process empty, all record mode is empty, auto record mode is empty, and we've got our card typed in and daily play mode. So we click run data and let it process the card only. As you remember, we have 11 different rankings methods that we can test. Now we have more than 11 ratings that we can use. We've got class distance, we've got EPP, we've got PFB. You can look at form, days off, all kinds of stuff you can look at. But right now I'm going to concentrate on the locations of the picks for each of the methods. Okay, the timer window came up, click OK, and it takes us to the race card selection area. Let's just start with this first race. It's an optional claimer, 20,000, non-winners of 1, turf. Now I don't know which horses are scratched in this race or will be scratched or whatever. And that really doesn't matter at this point. When we get to importing the results, those will be scratched automatically anyway. What I want to do here is just show you where everything is at in the standard RS view, which is what you're looking at now. This is everything. Well, we're a little short on this side, but you can still see the ratings, the rankings for the IV method over there. But this is pretty much the whole deal here. I'm going to zoom out or zoom in a little bit so you can see it better and go through each of the sections individually. So I think I'm going to go to 100% so you can see it better. And I'll come in a little bit for you guys so I don't have to scroll so much. Some of you guys have narrower screens than I do. This is a 22-inch monitor, by the way, and that's about the minimum, unless you've got excellent eyesight. 21, 22-inch screens about minimum to see the whole RS display in a zoom setting that's where the fonts are actually readable without straining your eyes. Okay, the left side of the RS view, this is our fractional velocities area, this area here. You have FR1, which is start to first call, FR2, which is first call to second call. Now that differs from what most people consider the second call. This is not second call. These are individual distance ranges, start to first call to second call, and second call to finish. So none of these include the other, which, like if you use Brisnet or JCapper files, either one, you have E1, E2, and LP. E1 is the same as this, FR1, but E2 is not the same as this. E2 includes E1 because it's start to second call. This is first call to second call. So we're getting individual segments of the race for our velocities, which is a whole lot better way of doing things. Now if you're using pace ratings, yeah, you might want to know the E2, you might want the second call pace rating to include what happened in the first call. That's understandable, but I don't use pace ratings or speed figures, so we're working with fractional velocities or segmental velocities here. So FR1 is to the first call, FR2 is from the first call to the second call, but not including the start to the first call. and FR3 is the end of the race from the second call to the finish. You have a low number and a high number for each horse. Here are your horses, and each of these rows are their lows and highs for each of these segments, fractional segments, low and high. So we're working with ranges here, not a specific or an average, or just their best, or just their median or average or whatever. This takes into account the worst the horse has run in the last 10 races and the best they've run in the last 10 races. So actually, unless they run a new high or a new low, this range represents everything that the horse can potentially run in this segment of the race, according to what he's already done. Now, yeah, they do run new highs and new lows, but we can't predict that, and I don't even want to consider it. So you've got a low and a high for FR1, a low and a high for FR2, and a low and a high for FR3. You can pretty much tell which horses have the potential to lead the race to the first call. In this case, the 2, the 3, the 7, and possibly the 9 or the 10. But it's probably going to be one of these three. Okay, now, on top of that, whoever's leading, look at the second fraction. You can see the 2 and the 3 don't show up here. The 6 does, though, and the 9 and the 10 do. So all of a sudden, these lows and these lows don't look too bad. Now, if we go into the third call, the third fraction, they're there again, the same two horses, 9 and 10. That's sort of what we're looking at here. You want to look at the worst they've done, the best they've done, and kind of get an idea of which horses are going to be where from the first call on. Of course, if you had a horse that ranked high in all three, he's probably going to be 1-to-1 or less. You know, that's because a lot of handicappers just look at the best race of the last 3 or the last 4 or whatever, and they're going to bet the heck out of the horse. But anyway, that's what this section is. This is our fractional velocities, and from these fractional velocities, we get most, if not all, we get all of our velocity numbers for all of the 11 picks. I guess I'd have to think about that. I hadn't really thought about it, but I think they're included in all 11 methods. Okay, let's go to the next section, which is the graph. I call it the graph. It's a graphical representation of those velocities we just looked at. For the 2-horse, this first one here, the one to the left, would represent his low. The one to the far right, and this is first call, this is second call, or second fraction, second call, and this is finish. So in the first call, the 2-horse, that would be his range, his low to his high. The same thing for here. This horse, I guess the lows and highs were really close, if not the same. 56 to 58, 56, 68 to 58, 19. Yeah, there's probably not enough separation between those to warrant more than one digit here. But anyway, you can kind of look where the horses would be if they ran their best. The 2, and then the 7, 2, 7, 4, 2, 7, 4, pretty close. Those three horses, if they run their best velocities, they should be at or on or at the lead. Okay, let's move on to second call. Now the second call, this are gonna build on these. So wherever the horse was here, you start with his low and you add the second fractional low to that to get this number, that first two, and then the high to the high to get the second, the one on the right, this two on the right. So you can see the two was leading in the first call, but he's more or less tied, maybe even a little bit behind by the second call, because these horses have moved up. Okay, and then the finish call builds on the first and the second. So it's a cumulative, it accumulates. You still see the low and the high, but they build on each other. So if he ran his worst, he'd be here at the first call, here at the second call, and here at the finish. So actually, if you just look at the third call, this is all the horse can run. He's got to run in here somewhere, unless he runs a new high or a new low. And according to this, the 9 and the 10 win the race, with the 3 coming in close and the 6 coming in close. Now the reason why these numbers are not over here, this says finish, second call, first call. The reason why that's like that is because I've got it zoomed out so far. If I had it back where it was at, what was it, 64, I believe, you'll see that they fall back in to pretty close first call, second call, third call. But I want to go back out to 100 so you can see a little better. Okay, that's graphical representation of the running, any potential running of the race. The horse's worst to their best, and you can see each one. So if you have a horse whose best cannot compete, like this horse here, the 12 horse, his best can't compete with the majority of the horse's worst. That horse can be automatically disqualified under normal circumstances. Same thing with the 13, possibly the 1, and maybe even the 15, if they even actually run. And the 5 doesn't look too hot either. So, you know, you got 4 or 5 horses there that, unless something weird happens in the race, they have no chance of winning. Conversely, the horses that run their best, if they're over here, then naturally they should win the race if they run their best. But somewhere in the middle of all of that is going to point you to the contenders most of the time. These horses that hit this line here, in the middle of everything, the ones to the right of it are basically going to be your contenders at the finish of the race. Up here above this, the PPG count is the number of races in the database that have this PPG, 5-10 by 1. So we know there's 29 races in the database, which is fine. Anything over 10 or 12 races in the database is okay. Now if you get down to where there's only 2 or 3 PPG counts, your FWC and all the other 4 or 5 methods that use the FWC picks are probably not going to be valid. That's why this is here, so you can kind of look and see how many races I'm actually looking at here in the database. Projected winning running style according to 510 by 1 in the database, an E horse, P horse, or an S horse. And then over here you can look at the percentages that have been won by each of the running styles: 10% E's, 17% P, and 21% S. So it looks like S has won the majority of the races, with P coming in second and E's coming third. And below that are the ranges of the early speed points, the clearing points for the winners. So for this PPG, E4s through E7s have won 10% of the races. P1s through P5s have won 17%, and S0s through S6s have won 21%. So probably a P or an S, 17%, 21% versus 7% and 10%. It's probably going to be a P or an S horse that wins the race, and they will be no higher than 6 clearing rating. And you got a lot of horses here: P4, P2, P2s, S0, P0, P1, P3. There's a whole lot of horses here that meet that criteria. So you're going to have a whole lot of contenders down here in your FWC method. Not good. That's one reason why I have gone back. Well, let me show you that real quick. This is, remember, we're looking at J-Capper running styles and clearing points. If I go back to the main sheet and click that recalculate button, come back here, you'll see things have changed. I've got an E, EP, there's a P, SP, 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 S. You still got a lot of P's, but we've got E's and EP's where we had P's and S's before. That's kind of what I've been doing, is comparing what's going on. According to these, the E horses are the 2 and the 1A, but it's a 0. So really the 2 has an E running style, and it's got a 3. That's according, based on what the other horses have for early speed points. That's your at least your first call leader right there, possibly second call leader. You got an EP2, which is going to be right there with him. And if we went back and looked at J-Capper, you're looking at something totally different here. You got a P4 and a P2. Your E horse is the 6. The 9 is an EP. 13 is an EP. So the running styles are totally different. Now the clearing points are basically, they're pretty close, 4 and 2, and we had what, 3 and 2 before. And I think the clearing points are probably calculated similarly. The J-Capper and my recalculated ones, they're pretty close. But the running styles, J-Capper only looks at their good races, and when I recalculated these, I look at all their races, all 10 races, and I take the running style that they seem to prefer to run, or are more comfortable running, because if they prefer to run one way, chances are that's the way they're going to run. Now they may have done better running a different running style, but if they prefer to run a certain running style, they might not want to do what a new jockey wants them to do, or a new trainer wants them to do. They may want them to take the lead early, and the horse is just not comfortable taking the lead early. So anyway, that's the difference between my running styles and J-Capper's running styles. And it's also the difference between Brisnet's running style and J-Capper's running style. Brisnet does not use just their good races either. They, as far as I can tell, they use all 10 races, and they may use more than 10 because they have a database of every race that each horse has ever run. So They may go back and look at their lifetime, all their lifetime races. I'm not real sure on that. I tried to mirror what Brisnet was doing because it seemed to work better than J-Capper running styles. But I can't figure it out. I've tried everything I can think of. Anyway, that's the graph and the probable projected winning running styles and early speed points. Okay, let's go over a little farther. This is up here at the top is general race information. Belmont 9/28/2013, 7 furlongs turf, optional claimer, 3-year-olds and up, and it's an open. Not it can be males or females. And below that, because I have it zoomed in so far, you're not seeing all of the conditions of the race, but they're right here. You can zoom back out to see all of that, and of course the race number. Above here is an indication of the surface that's being run. The race is being run on. This is a turf race. Now, if they take the race off the turf, you have the option of recalculating everything for a dirt race. If they're going from turf to dirt, their turf pace lines probably won't be too accurate. Going from turf to dirt is tough on horses, especially horses that haven't run very many dirt races. It's a little harder to run on the dirt than it is on the turf. Going the other way, dirt to turf, yeah, most horses can handle that because the turf is a little easier to run on than the dirt is. To take a race off the turf, if the weather, they've taken it off the turf and put it on the main track, there's a button down here called Take Race Off Turf, and if you click that, it will recalculate everything using their dirt races rather than their turf races, and you get a totally different scenario. I use that a lot of time in races where most of the horses have not run on the turf. Even if they're running on the turf today, if most of them have not run on the turf, I want to look at what they have run on, and I'll take it off the turf and look at what they've done on the dirt. To get it back to turf, you have to go back and reselect the race 1, and we're back to turf again. Okay, we see what we're in daily play mode. The track condition with a question mark, that's just a warning for you to check the track condition. We're playing live. Sometimes the condition of the track will change. You may start out sloppy and then they'll change the condition of the track to fast or good or whatever. That's just it's a warning for me to continually check the condition of the track, especially if it started out as an off track or if we're starting to get some rain now. I want to keep track of what they're calling the track condition anyway. Okay, this is of course your post times. This would be East Coast, Central Time, Mountain Time, Pacific Time for this race itself, the post time. And then here are all your betting options, the types of bets you can make: exacta, trifecta, superfecta, pick 3, and pick 5, etc. for this race, unless they have too many scratches, of course. Then they may take the superfecta out or whatever. Down here is the purse value of the race, $72,000 purse. I added that mainly for stakes races because I don't normally play stakes races unless they're 300,000 or 250,000 or more. I don't particularly care for stakes races, but if it's high class stakes races, I will play them. And for me, that's $250,000 or higher. And that's usually going to be 3-year-old races. I like the Triple Crown races and things. So anyway, that's just some information. Okay, I think we gone through most at the top. I want to go up, scroll up a little bit, and show you something that has been there for a while. I just had never mentioned it before. This area up here is breeding and earnings. There's your horse number, horse name, their age, actual age, 5.51 years, rather than calling it a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. It's actually 5.5 years old. So you can look down and see some horses that are classified as 4-year-olds are really closer to being a 3-year-old than they are a 4-year-old, or vice versa. Then your sex, these evidently are all geldings. It's kind of weird. Anyway, total earnings, this is lifetime earnings. Average earnings per start in this area, this whole area here. Average per start, lifetime, the current year, and the previous year. So you can see if they've gotten better in the last 2 years, or if they've gotten worse, or whatever. This is the age restriction for the race. It's for 3-year-olds only. The sire of each horse, the sire's sire, the dam, and the dam's sire. And to the right of that, this is for first-time starters only. If there were first-time starters, which there aren't, if there were in this race, you would get out here, it would list the trainer's stats for first-time starters. The number of races, or the number of first-time starters he had, and the win rate, and their in the money stats. First-time starters, if they have 50% or higher in the money, if the trainer has 50% or higher in the money with first-time starters, I'll include those horses in my picks. That's just something I do. I think that's important for first-time starters. It just tells me that the trainer knows what he's doing to getting these young horses started. To the right of that, you'll see the horse numbers again, the jockey and the trainer. So that's just a little area that I created up there for that kind of information when I want to reference that. Okay, over here we have form, class, prime power, average distance, and days off in these columns here. Form, low is best, plus is better than minus, and equal means they're stationary. One equal, they were in peak form last race, peak form last race, peak form last race, peak form last race. 2 plus means they are improving and still have some room to improve. So 2 pluses, 3 pluses, even 4 pluses are probably going to improve and could be dangerous. The ones have a tendency sometimes to decline because they ran their best race last time. Anything above, say, a 4 plus, a 5 or higher, I don't like those horses. Now, if they're an 8, a 7 or an 8, and they have a layoff, that's a different ball game. They're just coming off a layoff, and the 7 or 8 tells us that they needed it, so they should improve off of that. Maybe not to the point of contending, but they should show some improvement. So the higher the number, especially if they have a layoff, they will probably improve. If they're ones, you can look at their last race on the all data sheet and see if that was their best race. If it wasn't, then maybe they'll run that number again. 2 pluses, 3 pluses, and 4 pluses, I like those. That means they're on the improve and they've still got room to come since their last race. So unless they went on a layoff after that 3 plus, this horse had 77 days off. Why? If he was improving in form, why did he have a layoff? That's a question mark to me. And his odds 20 to 1. Even though he had a good prime power number, that tells me that track handicapper doesn't like that either, or maybe something else about the horse. But anyway, class is based on earnings. That's my own class rating based on earnings, and then of course prime power, either Brisnett's or J. Capper's prime power. Average distance that the horse has run in either sprint or route in either dirt or turf races. So if this is a 7 furlong race, I'm looking for a horse that's averages around 7 furlongs. What do we got here? 6.7, 6.7, 7 furlongs, 7 furlongs. Yeah, those horses, we know they can run this distance because that's what they're averaging. That's what they're running all the time. We know they can run it. And days off, of course, is since their last race. There's a 77-day layoff, 97-day layoff, 77 days. There's a 3-day comeback right there. They saw something last time. Either the horse needs another race real bad, or they think he's ready to go. They bring him back in 3 days. Most of the time, 14 to 45 days is, normal. Okay, to the right of that we have the morning line. Now this is Equibase's, I assume, Equibase's morning line, because I've seen times when this morning line did not match the morning line at the track on the tote board. But this is Equibase's morning line, I think. It highlights the lowest ones. 3.5 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 5 to 1, 5 to 1, 5 to 1. So those, according to the morning line, are the horses that should be in contention. Of course, that depends on who made the morning line, how good they are, and also what they're trying to do, either predict the public or if they're actually trying to, give you a probability for the horse winning. Most handicappers, track handicappers, don't. They try to predict what the public's going to be betting. Okay, and then you have your IV velocities. These initial velocities, IV velocities, are based off of the graph. They're based off of this. And that's where they come from. They are an average of the averages, an average of all the rangers, the lows and the highs and everything. It's all averaged together. So you'll get some horses in the IV rankings that pay huge when they win, but most of the time the IV rankings, you can use it second, third, and fourth rows in your vertical exotics, but most tracks, the IV rankings by themselves, the hit rate is going to be pretty low for winners. But when they do hit, a lot of times they pay huge. and that's their rating itself, their velocity, average velocities, and the horse number. These are rated high to low according to the velocities and the horse's name, IV rating. Okay, now let's go back over here. Below the velocities, of course you have the horses listed again and their saddle cloth numbers. This ticket structure helper, basically I put that in there for myself because I'm a superfecta player, or had been primarily a superfecta player before I created RS. Just help me structure my tickets. If I thought the win horse would be the 4 horse, I just typed something in there, any character for the win, and then maybe for the second row, the 6 and the 8, type it in, and then of course I always bring those horses on down 3rd and 4th rows too. That's just the way I do mine. Your show horses might be 11 and 2. Bring those on down, and you may want to. I might want to add another horse or two here. Say the 5 horse for 4th place. When you have completed the ticket structure, you can go down below where it says ticket structure. It'll tell you your win horse is the 4. Here are your place selections if you're playing place. If you're playing show, 2, 6, 8, and 11. This would be your 4th row in the superfecta ticket. And below that are your exacta selections, trifecta selections, and superfecta selections. So the exacta, according to what I have selected, the horses would be the 4 with the 6, 8. The trifecta would be the 4 with the 6, 8 with the 2, 6, 8, 11. And the superfecta 4 with 6, 8 with 2, 6, 8, 11 with 2, 6, 8, 11, 5, 2, 5, 6, 8, 11. That's the horses I had selected here. It just kind of helps me keep things organized. To clear those out, just click this button here and it'll clear it out. Okay. Now let's go to the next section, which is our final win contenders selection, or final win contenders area. That's this whole area here. You have the horse number and their running style and query number here. The contenders by running style and query number, that's based on these percentages up here. Anything above 10%, I believe, 10% or higher is going to qualify. If it's the running style and the range of query numbers matches the horse, it will qualify in this column. These are the contenders. As you can see, there's some horses that did not qualify by running style, so they're already eliminated from final win contenders. Matchups FR1 and FR2. We're looking for at the velocities, the high velocities for each of these horses in FR1. If they are within, like, I think it's like 0.22 feet per second in FR1, you'll get a matchup there. If those same horses that matched up in FR1 also match up in FR2, they're eliminated. So the eliminated horses can be eliminated by running style and querying early speed points, or by matchups in FR1 and FR2 when you combine the two. This will be the eliminated horses. You can see those two horses were eliminated by running style. So was this one, and so was this one. So they don't go any farther. Your final win contenders are horses that were not eliminated. As you can see, there's still quite a few of them left in contention, so to speak. The program highlights the top 3 by their high velocities. The average of the 3 high velocities, FR1, FR2, and FR3 for each horse, they average together to get you this number. So according to this, the 2, the 4, and the 3 are the final win contenders, top 3. This is an area for comments that the program will give you. This horse, for instance, had no velocities, no qualified velocities, as you can see up here. It had no qualified. Either it hadn't run any races, or it hadn't run any turf races or dirt races, depending on what this is a turf race, so it probably had no turf races. Or it didn't have a sprint race and a sprint, or any route races and a route. You'll get those designations up here. It's just a little warning for you, for your information. The next area is the results. If we import the results, the payouts will be shown here on the same line as the horse who earned those payouts. Win, place, and show. And the horse numbers again. To the right of that is your manual scratch column. To scratch a horse, just click next to the horse in this column and type any character, it doesn't matter, and click out. It will take that horse away. To clear those, just click this button, clear manual scratches. Now when you go to the next race, when you select the next race, it will do that automatically. It will clear all your previous scratches from there. Okay, we're running a little longer than I thought. Okay, the next area, of course, you got the take race off turf button. If for whatever reason, whether the track has taken the turf races off of the turf and putting them on the main track, or if there are a lot of horses in the race that have not run turf races and you want to take it off just to see what they run on, that's what this button's for. Of course, we just did the clear manual scratches button to clear these scratches out. These other buttons are manual record buttons, and you should only use those if you have results. This is what I started with before the auto record mode was created. I would go through each race, and depending on which method I was playing, if it was a play for that race, say I was playing FWC, this is record FWC button. If I was playing the FWC mode and I had a play FWC notification that tells me, okay, play the race, well, I can play the race by just clicking the FWC button, and it'll send, if I have results, it will send those 3 horses that were highlighted in FWC along with any payouts that they earned to the record keeping sheet, the regular standard record keeping sheet. You can do that with any of the methods listed here. FWC, FB, IV, FWC Alt, FB, FBIV, Autops, FWC Alt 2, and Consensus. I do not have first and last here. That was the last method that I created, and I just have not created a button. Most people don't use these manual buttons anyway, but you could do that if you wanted to. If you want to play various methods for the same track rather than the same method, maybe you figured out a way of playing different methods for different types of races or different distances or whatever. In your record keeping sheet, you could record every bet that you made and which method you used, and they would all go, if you use these manual buttons, they would all end up on the record keeping sheet, and it would tell you which horses were played, how much they paid, and which mode you used. whether it was whichever one of these buttons you clicked, it would tell you, it would all be shown on the record keeping sheet. That's the way I used to do it before auto record was created. I'd go through each race and the races that I played and which method, I would just click that button. And when you click one of those buttons in this yellow cell up here, it will tell you recorded. That means that that data was sent to the record keeping sheet. So you don't that's to show you so you don't do it more than once for the same race. So anytime that's showing recorded up there, that means you've already clicked one of these buttons once. You don't want to do it again. Okay, to the right of that's the manual record buttons. To the right of that is our FV horses. This is the horse number and the running stop and their average of high velocities. Now these horses, these picks here are calculated the same way that FWC picks are calculated, except these do not have any eliminations by running style, early speed points, or pace matchups. They are just straight calculations, an average of the three high velocities, FR1, FR2, and FR3. So FV is the best the horse can run. That's what this is. And the top three horses are ranked by those velocities. These are the actual velocities, and over here are the rankings, high to low. The 2, the 4, and the 6 rated top three. 5808, 5799, 5788. So this is your rankings, and these are the actual velocities listed by program number. Okay, let's go back over. We've already talked about the ticket structure area. Number of runners in the race. Now they're showing 16 here, but if we scratch, this number here will change. If you scratch horses, this will change to however many are actually running in the race. EPP is our early pace picture. I'm going to show you that, as a matter of fact. It's right up here to above the race number and the select new race button. To the left of that, PFV picture. If you click that, it'll take you over here, and you'll see a graphical representation of where the horses should be at the early pace point, which is the second call in this instance. This line here represents the second call point. So the 9's leading, 14 is next, 10 is next, according to the calculations. 9, 14, and 10, and the 4 is fourth, which should be this horse. These are basically one length from the start open parentheses to close parentheses. That's basically one length. So it looks like the 10 is going to be one length behind the 9, and the 4 is going to be one and a half lengths behind. Yeah, 1.5. Okay. Anyway, and to the right of that, if you import results, the results will be shown here. Down here is the PFV picture, which is the finish of the race. This is power, form, and velocity. PFV, power, form, and velocity. All three of those factors are used to calculate where the horses will be at the finish of the race. According to this, if the 15 does not scratch, it should win the race. 6 should be second, 10 should be third, and your links between. There's probably 2 links back from the 15 to the 6, and another 2 links back to the 10. So anyway, and again, the results will show up here if you want to import results and then look at the paste picture with the results. They will show up here when you import them. To get back to where we were, just click the RS view and you'll end up back in the vicinity. If I had the zoom was back where it was, it would have come right back to where we were. Okay, so EPP and PFV, these are the rankings, and these are the PFV, oops, the PFV velocities. So you can kind of look 58.5, 57.9, 57.4. We've got 3 horses here that are real close. 10.71 are real close for third ranking. Less than about a tenth of a second separating them, or a tenth of a foot per second. Anyway, PFV, EPP by ranking, horse number by ranking. That's your EPP, PFV, your consensus picks, which is one of our rankings methods, are here. Horse number, ranked. That's their rankings. 4 is best, 2 is second, 10 is third, and they're ranked first, second, third. One thing I might mention, anytime you scratch a horse, if you're playing the consensus picks, if you scratch a horse over here in the manual scratch box, you have to click this button, and that will update your consensus picks to include the horses that were scratched. Okay, these are our notification boxes. This will tell you play FWC, that means it's qualified for an FWC play. It could tell you pass, 20% no velocities. It could tell you pass, no picks, meaning there are no picks for FWC. It could tell you pass, no RS, which means none of the horses qualify by running style. Or it could tell you pass, no match, which means the top pick in FWC did not match either the top pick in FV or the top pick in IV. An FWC pick, a top pick to get a play FWC notification, that top FWC horse must match either the top pick in FV or the top pick in IV to qualify as a legitimate play, to get this play FWC notification. Down here is an alternate play. I believe Alt FB is the only notification you will get there. That was my first alternate play method, and that was back when FWC was basically our only mode. Some guys wanted more plays because they weren't getting enough qualified FWC plays, so I did some testing and found certain types of races that were not play FWC races that the FV mode did well in. And in those races you'll get a notification down here that will tell you Alt and then 2 arrows pointing to FB telling you the alternate play is the FV mode. The box to the left of it, this yellow box, is a second alternate play notification, Alt 2, and you can get an Alt FB, or an Alt FBIV notification here, depending on the race itself and what kind of pass notifications you're getting. This is your FBIV rankings 10.9.4. So if you had an Alt FBIV in this box, that would tell you you might want to play the FBIV rankings top 3. If it said Alt FB, then you would use FB, the FB rankings 2, 4, and 6. And that's the 2 alt methods, alternate methods, Alt FB and your Alt 2, the second alternate method. Just below that alt, first alternative play is notification when it's a turf race. Just again to let me know, if I'm looking here and I see FWC and then I see turf, I want to make sure that that I know that it's going to be run on the turf and what condition the track is in. Turf races run on tracks that are not dry can get pretty screwed up pretty quick. So I just like an indication when it's a turf race. Of course, if you've taken it off the turf or it's been taken off the turf, you'll get that notification here. It'll say off turf, I believe. Yeah, off turf. Okay, the no results. Let's say the Excel is saving. This no results right here just says we don't have the results imported. If we do import results, then this will change to the results file. It'll show the actual file name there, so you can make sure that you've imported a 2013 file and not a 2012 file. Just a little double check. Okay, let's start over here. We had FWC, FV, and above here IV. That's the 3 main modes. Okay, then you have FVIV, which is an average of the FV and the IV velocities, which gives you these rankings and these velocities. All tops means the top pick from FWC, FV, and IV. If there are actually FWC picks, you'll get 3 picks. In this case, if you have 2 of those 3 columns that have the same top pick, then you will only get 2 picks. And that's the case here. We had the 2-horse ranked top pick for FWC and also in FV. So the only other top ranking left would be the IV ranking, which would be the 10. Should be the 10. Yeah, the 10. So 2 and 10 for all tops. FVIV combined does not average the velocities. It looks for the most frequently occurring horses or horse numbers in those 3 columns, FWC, FV, and IV. Most frequently occurring within the top 4. So they're a little different. You have 2, 10, and 4 rather than 10, 9, and 4. It's a little different way of arriving at those picks. One is average, an average of FV and IV. The other is a combination of the picks themselves, not their averages, but the picks themselves. Okay, Alt FV is the FV picks if it is an Alt FV race, which remember this first alternate play method, if that says Alt FV, then you will get picks here. Alt FB. You'll get ranked horses here. First and last, I didn't mention that over here. The first and last rankings are here to the left of the FWC stuff in the ticket structure helper. Again, they're ranked, are highlighted. The top 3 are highlighted. The 10 is ranked number 1, 9 is ranked number 2, and 4 is ranked number 3. First and last is an average of the FR1 low and high, the FR2 low and high, and the FR3 low and high. So it's an average of the 3 averages. It's a little different than what we did up here in the graph. And the reason why I did that was to give me another way of looking at some tracks that I just can't seem to find a profitable method for. I wanted to look at an average velocity and be able to weight those by the value that I thought each of these fractional segments had at that track. And I think Fairgrounds was the one that prompted me to do this, because I just could not make a profit at Fairgrounds, and there's some good payouts there, so I wanted to get them. You know, I wanted to get some of those. So I came up with this method, and over here to the left of that, you'll see where you can change the weightings for FR1, FR2, and FR3. The value of those 3 segments is the first call most important, or is the first call to the second call? Is that segment more important, or is second call to finish more important? Well, I monkeyed around with different weightings. I started with 1, 1, and 1, which is just the averages, and then I would start, I think I changed FR1 to 2 and left the other 2 1s and ran all. I tested that. That didn't work real good. Then I went to FR2 and put a 2 there and put 1s in the other 2 boxes. That didn't work. Then I went to FR3 and put a 2 in there and left the other 2 1s, and etc., 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 etc. Anyway, this is the weighting I came up with. This is for Fairgrounds, and I haven't messed with it for any of the other tracks because I've always found a method that would work at the other tracks. But those are the weightings for Fairgrounds, just in case you're interested. FR1 was the most important segment at Fairgrounds. FR2 is second most important, and the final, which is, for most people they would say no, the stretch call at Fairgrounds is the most important. Well, it's not really, because by the time these horses have run the first and second call, they are dead in the stretch. It's a long stretch, and you want horses that run well early, so even though they are fading in the stretch, they can still hold on. That's what this tells me. The better you run early, the better you do at Fairgrounds. Now you can test this for any track you want to. Takes a little time, but yeah, you can test it. You can auto record first and last, change a setting, and clear out your record keeping and auto record it all your races again. Look and see if it improved hit rate and ROI. That didn't work, go back and change something else. You know, it took me probably a whole day to figure out Fairgrounds, and that was solid testing, probably 6 or 8 hours of solid testing. But it was worth it, because now I can make a profit at Fairgrounds I couldn't before. So that's first and last. And the first and last horses are listed right down here below EPP and PFP. Of course, this area here, you can, if you just want to auto record the top pick or the second pick, or the third pick for first and last, or the first and second pick, or the second and third. You can, just type a 1 there if you want to record first pick. If you don't want to record the second pick, take it out. If you want to record it, put it in. Same thing with third pick. So you can record 1, 2, or 3. Of course, it's really unnecessary because record keeping is going to show you what each of those does anyway. But I'd put that in there anyway. Okay, race 1 is a play FWC, and it's also a play for first and last. And here's first and last, and the top 3 horses, 10, 9, 4. Use PFV horses, 15, 6, and 10. Here's the actual rankings, 15, 6, 10, 7, 1, 2, 4. I think there's 6 or 7 horses listed there, but those are in rank order. Your class horses are here in ranked order. 6, 4, 2 are the top 3. Your distance horses, strictly distance now, no class. This is strictly class, this is strictly distance. 5, 12, and 14, and this is a combination of these two. Class / distance is a combination of these. 6 by class, 5 by distance, and then 11 showed up twice, so it got put third. See, 2 didn't show up, 5 doesn't show up in the other column, 10 doesn't show up in the other column, 11 doesn't show up. It doesn't show up until the end, but it's the only horse that showed up in both columns other than the 6 and the 5. See, there's a 5 here and a 5 here. 6. So it's a combination of the rankings for class and distance. And it works good at some tracks. At Belmont, I prefer to use just class. Straight class in turf races. And high class races, like the one today, the grade 1 that Ron the Greek won. He was ranked number 1 in class, and since it was a dirt race, I was using the PFV rankings and missed that 21 to 1 $44 payout, and when I looked down at class, he was rated number 1. So that was my mistake. Those high class races, especially the 3-year-olds, are almost all class. That was my mistake. I should have had that horse. Okay. This layoff days set on the main sheet. I have it set at 365. If you go to the main page, right here, enter layoff days greater than 365. That is for the consensus method only. This method, consensus method only. So if a horse has been laid off for a year, he's not going to be ranked anywhere in consensus only. This gives you a play indication for consensus. I believe consensus does not play any race that has 20% of the field that do not have qualified pace lines, qualified velocities. You'll get a pass notification here. You can also auto-record 1 pick, 2 picks, or 3 picks for consensus by just typing that number here. If you just want to record the top pick, just type a 1. If you want the first 2 picks, type a 2. If you want to record all 3, type a 3. I just leave it at 3 because record keeping is going to show you what each pick is doing anyway. Okay, this area is your minimum odds that you have set on the main sheet. Minimum odds to 1 is 0. Your preferred method comes from the personal area over here. Preferred method, my preferred settings, FVIV and 0 to 1 odds, or any odds. And that is FVIV preferred picks, FVIV first pick at any odds, which comes from the main sheet. FVIV first pick at any odds. So if you type something in here, it's going to show up here. Okay, this area down here is another personal area, and if you need help with the formulas in these, because you have to tailor this area. If you're going to use this area, you don't have to use it. But if you want to use this area, you have to tailor it to the method you're playing and your preferred play method. Like I've got FVIV as my preferred method, so I want a play notification when it's okay to play FVIV. Basically that's going to be any race that's not 20% or more no velocity horses. I'm going to get a play notification. And there, see the formula up here? If this box says pass 20% no velocities, then I'll get a pass notification down here. If it doesn't, I'm going to get a play notification. Okay, that's race 1. That's just the race number. This is also a formula that you have to put in there. And again, that's going to come from the main page. Unless you change it, whatever is in this box right here, it says FVIV first pick at any odds, that's what's going to show up there. But again, if you want to customize this little black area down here, just send me an email with what you want to do with it, and I'll help you get it done. And of course the FVIV picks are going to be shown here, 10, 9, and 4, which is this 10, 9, and 4. And the arrow points to the fact that I only want to play the top pick. If I wanted to play the top 2 picks, I could put another formula here that would point to the 9 also, 10, 9. If I wanted to play all 3, I could put another formula to play all 3. Like I say, it's just a personal area, and if you need help with it, just let me know. I'll help you with it. Alright, that's pretty much it for daily play mode. If you have any trouble understanding any of it, just let me know. But that basically shows you all the methods where you can find the picks for those methods on this page. Also, I'll go to the remote devices tab, which is this RS page view condensed for smaller devices like tablets and netbooks. They have small monitors. That's this. It's got basically the same information as the other pages, just in a smaller format for viewing on smaller monitors. But again, you can. Here's the personal play area here is right here. So if you need help setting that up, just let me know. You get your results just like you do on the other one, the other page. All your methods are listed across here and down. FWC, FVIV, FWC, Alt FV, FVIV, Alt Tops, FWC combined, Alt FV, Consensus, FWC Alt 2, first and last, and also EPP and PFV. Your class stuff, class rankings are here, distance rankings are here. Your class plus distance ranked here, EPP and PFV are here. Here's your fractional segments, velocities. Down here, the same as what it was over on the other page to the left of the graph. Here's your graph. Works the same way as the graph on the other sheet. There, horse number form. There's your form numbers and your actual class ratings. Here's your scratch box. Now when you scratch a horse over here, click in whichever horse you want to scratch, just type any character, and after you get them all typed in, then click update scratches, this button here. and that will update not only this page but the regular RS view sheet, the regular sheet on the summaries page. And you can clear the scratches with this button, which clears both pages, the scratches on both pages. Then you have buttons to go to different places in the workbook. You can go to the main page, you can go to the regular RS view, which we just came from. You can go to the all data sheet to look at the actual past performances, the PPs, or the pace ratings view. You can go to the record keeping sheet or the database sheet, the BBDB sheet. There's your PPG count, just like we had above the graph on the other sheet. There's your PPG, your pace pressure gauge, 5-10 by 1, just like it was on the other one, and your projected wind running styles. There's your post times, your main notification. Here's your alternate and your second alternate below that. Notification areas. Oh, you can, if you wanted to use this view rather than the other view all the time, or for today's races, this is the remote devices view. Go back to the main page and click the mobile mode. Mobile mode, that's for the remote devices is what that is. Mobile mode, I call it. PC mode is on your computer right here, or on a larger laptop. If you're using a smartphone or a tablet or a netbook, you want to use the remote devices sheet, just click mobile mode, and from that point on, when you click one of these race buttons to see another race, say we wanted to look at race 2, just click race 2 and you'll come right back to this sheet. This is race 2 now. Race 4, race 4. You don't even have to leave this page. You can stay right here all the time in daily play mode. What else? Current date. Just make sure you got the right card loaded. 9/28/2013. Current race is 4. Race 4 is what we've got selected right now. Go back to race 1. Now we're at race 1. The results, if you import those, will be here. That's about it. That's remote devices. Let's go back to summary. Well, let's go back and get rid of them. Go back to PC mode. Go to summaries. And did I forget anything? I don't think I did. I just made a note right here. Don't forget, if you're going to manually record, or if you're going to scratch horses that weren't officially scratched at the track. Say you just wanted to look at your contenders, so you scratched all the other horses. You might want to jot those down. Don't forget to write down the horses you have manually scratched, so if you run the race letter you will know which horses you decided to scratch that were not officially scratched by the track officials. That's just, you thought that half the field didn't have a chance of winning, so you scratched them out. Well, jot that down, which horses you scratched, so when you go back and look at the results, you'll understand why you didn't have the winner, maybe because you didn't figure he had a chance and you scratched that horse. Because when you import the results, those scratched horses that you had manually scratched, those scratches are going to come from the results file itself, the official scratches in the race from the track. So if you scratched some horses because you didn't like them, and one of them won, you're going to wonder, well, how the heck did I miss that horse? It's because you scratched him out. That's all this little notification here is. Or it's just a little information thing. Don't forget to write down the horses you manually scratch. It just keeps the confusion down a little bit later on when you import the results and find some abnormalities. Okay, that's about all I'm going to go through today. Of course, regardless of what method you use of the 11 methods, or whether you use in class or whatever, you have the option of playing 1 pick, 2 picks, or 3 picks. That's up to you. The minimum odds that you require for those is also up to you, and your track testing. What your track testing in auto record or all record tells you is best. So just because we have the horses listed that we're going to bet that are our contenders, you can bet just the top pick in any of the methods, or the first and second pick, or all 3 picks, or maybe the first and third pick if the second pick sucks in your testing. I don't like to do that. I like first and second, or first, second, and third. I don't like to go just second or just third or just first and third. I don't believe it's going to carry forward. So anyway, regardless of the method, you can play 1 pick, 2 picks, 3 picks, whatever you want to do. That's up to you. As far as the actual betting of the race, the minimum odds, whatever your track testing tells you to do, and what you decide is the best minimum odds requirement for that method, that's what this personal area down here is for, to let you, so you don't have to remember all the time. It's going to remember for you. If I were playing FVIV first pick at 2-to-1 odds, then I would type that in on the main page so it would show up here. FVIV first pick at 2-to-1. So anyway, that's the RS view. I'll go back to add that at 64% and scroll a little bit to the left. That's the whole view. That's the whole ball of wax. That's it. See you later.